Family kicked me out on my birthday. 2 years later, I bought a nice new home. They're trying to claim it as a family asset. I told them to leave before I call the cops. Now they're trying to claim my new home as a family asset. What's going on, everybody? It's Finn here with another family Reddit story. Before we dive in, quick reminder, we're experimenting with a slightly different style lately. It's still new for us, so I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and let us know if you're liking it. Alright, today's story, this one honestly made me angry while reading it. We've got a guy who's been carrying his entire family for years. Paying bills, buying groceries, fixing everything around the house, basically keeping the whole place running. And what do they do on his birthday? They dump all his belongings on the front lawn and tell him to leave. No warning, no discussion, just get out. And then, this is the part that really got me, months later, once he's finally doing well on his own, they show up at his door asking to move in, trying to claim his place as a family asset. The audacity is unreal. This one's a long one, so let's get into it. He starts like this. So, Reddit, I'm 27, and up until recently, I was living with my parents and my younger brother Tom, in this rundown house that always smelled like something was rotting behind a wall. The place was cramped, falling apart. Old something was always breaking. But it was home, or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. I work at a distribution warehouse, have for a few years now. I started out on the floor, loading trucks and sorting shipments, and worked my way up to coordinator. It's not glamorous. No one's impressed when you mention it at a party, but it pays decently, and I'm good at it. The problem is, my mom never saw it that way. Her name's Susan, and every single time I walked through the door after a shift, she'd hit me with the same line. When are you going to get a real job? Like clockwork. Didn't matter if I had just worked a 12-hour shift, or was still in my steel-toe boots covered in dust. It was always the same thing. When are you getting a real job, Robin? What does that even mean? I pay half the bills in that house. I buy the groceries. When the water heater broke last winter, I paid to replace it. When the porch railing was about to collapse, I fixed it on a Saturday morning while everyone else slept. When the kitchen sink backed up and flooded the cabinet, I was under there with a wrench at 11 p.m., while Tom sat in the next room watching videos on his phone. But none of that counted, because I wasn't a doctor or a lawyer or whatever she considered a real job. And every time I tried to push back, she'd say, if it were a real job, you'd have your own place by now. As if she wasn't benefiting from me staying. As if the bills would somehow pay themselves without me. And then there's Tom, my 26-year-old brother who acts like he's 17. This guy has never done anything useful around the house. Never paid a bill, never bought groceries. I honestly don't think he even knows where the grocery store is. He just exists, taking up space, eating food I paid for, using hot water I cover, walking past me like I work for him. He carries himself like he's better than everyone else, and I genuinely don't know why. He's done nothing, accomplished nothing, yet struts around like he's doing us a favor just by being there. He throws little jabs whenever I'm doing something productive. Must be nice having nothing better to do, he'll say, then go right back to his room. He measures his entire worth by social media followers. I'm not even kidding. He once told me to my face that I was irrelevant because I don't post online. I was literally holding 2 grocery bags when he said, bags I paid for, filled with food he'd be eating in an hour. But sure, I'm the irrelevant one. My dad Greg is basically a non-factor. He's there but not really. Works when he works, comes home, sits in his chair. If my mom says something cruel at dinner, he keeps eating. If Tom mocks me, he just stares at the TV. I stopped expecting anything from him a long time ago. Accepted that he wasn't going to stand up for me and moved on. This is one of those situations where you can already see the pattern. He's the one doing everything, paying bills, buying food, maintaining the house, and gets zero credit for it. Actually, worse than that, he gets mocked by the very people benefiting from his effort. That's the thing about being the one holding everything together. Nobody notices until you stop. Anyway, my 28th birthday was coming up, and I know it sounds stupid, but I was actually looking forward to it. I'd saved up and bought myself a nice cake from a bakery downtown. The kind of place where a single cake cost more than it probably should, but whatever, it was my birthday. I figured we could do something small at the house. Nothing big, just the 4 of us. Have some cake, maybe watch a movie or something. I don't even know why I expected anything. Looking back, the signs were all there. But when it's your family, you keep making excuses for them. You keep telling yourself maybe this time will be different. It never is. A few days before Tuesday, I think. Actually, no, Wednesday. Doesn't matter. I sat down with my mom and dad in the kitchen and told them I was hoping we could do something small over the weekend for my birthday. Mom didn't even look up from whatever magazine she was flipping through. We'll see. We might have plans. Plans. On my birthday. I should have known right then, but I didn't want to believe it. These are my parents. Of course they'd be around for my birthday, right? Fast forward to the actual day. I went to work, had a decent shift, got some happy birthday texts from coworkers, which was nice. One of the guys on the floor, an older dude named Phil, who never talks to anyone, actually came up, shook my hand, and said, "Happy birthday, kid." That one meant something. I even treated myself to a new pair of shoes on my lunch break. Nothing expensive, just a clean white pair I'd been eyeing in a store window for weeks. Felt like a small gift to myself. I was in a genuinely good mood. Drove home thinking maybe they'd have something waiting. Not a party, I wasn't delusional, but maybe a card. Maybe the cake I bought would be on the counter with candles in it. Something. Anything that said, "We see you, and today matters." I pulled into the driveway, and my stomach dropped. All my stuff was on the front lawn. Boxes, garbage bags, my clothes, my books, random things from my room just dumped out there like it was trash day, and I was what they were throwing away. For a second, I honestly thought we'd been robbed. Like someone had broken in and tossed everything outside. That's how my brain tried to make sense of it, because the real explanation was too insane to accept. Then I saw them, Mom, Dad, and Tom. All three standing on the porch, lined up, just staring at me. No one said anything. No one moved. They just stood there like they'd been waiting, like this was planned, rehearsed, and they were ready for their moment. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "What's going on?" My voice was shaking and I hated that. Mom stepped forward, her face completely blank, no emotion at all. "Robin, it's time for you to move out. You're not welcome here anymore." I just stood there, unable to move. My brain felt like it was buffering, hearing the words but not processing them. I looked at Dad, hoping he'd do something, anything. He just stared at the ground, hands in his pockets. Wouldn't look at me. Wouldn't even lift his head. "But it's my birthday. Where am I supposed to go?" My voice cracked, and I hated that too. It made me sound like I was begging. I wasn't trying to beg. I just wanted someone to explain what was happening. Tom stepped forward, that same smirk on his face. Always that smirk. "Maybe you should have thought about that before being such a burden all these years." Burden. I've been called a lot of things, but hearing that from the one person in the house who's never paid for anything that hit differently, I looked at Mom one more time, silently, asking for something, an explanation, an apology, anything. It wasn't enough, she said, her voice sharp like a door slamming shut. "We need the space, and frankly, you need to grow up." That was it. Happy birthday to me. I asked if I could at least grab my things, and she gestured toward the lawn like she was pointing out where the trash goes on collection day. "It's all there. You should go now." Like she was talking to a delivery guy who'd stayed too long. Not her son. Not the person who'd been holding that household together with duct tape in his paycheck for years. I started loading boxes into my car. My hands were shaking. My jaw clenched so tight my teeth hurt. I wanted to yell. I wanted to take one of those boxes and throw it through the front window, just to watch all three of them flinch. But I didn't. I just kept moving. One box, then another. A garbage bag of clothes ripping at the bottom. A cardboard box of books that smelled exactly like the basement mildew and old carpet. And for some reason, that smell was what almost broke me. Not their words, not the betrayal, the smell of that box. Brains are weird like that. Not one of them moved, not one word. Three people standing there, watching me load my entire life into my car, and nobody did anything. When I got the last box in, I turned around one more time, that stubborn, stupid part of me still hoping someone would crack, that Dad would step forward and say, "Wait, come back inside, this isn't right." "Why today? Why my birthday?" Mom looked right through me. "Consider it our gift to you. Independence." And that was it. I got in my car, pulled out of the driveway, and watched the house shrink in the rearview mirror until I turned the corner and it disappeared. His own mother said that to him on his birthday after he'd spent years keeping their household running. "Consider it our gift to you. Independence." That's not tough love. That's not a push in the right direction. That's cruelty. That's a mother choosing to hurt her own child on the one day of the year he hoped might be different. And the father, standing there with his hands in his pockets, not saying a single word. That silence is its own kind of betrayal. Sometimes the people who say nothing do the most damage. I drove to a cheap motel on the edge of town, one of those places with a flickering sign and a parking lot full of cars that all look like they've given up. Paid for one night because that's all my brain could handle. Just get through tonight, figure out tomorrow when it comes. I sat on the bed with my boxes stacked against the wall and just sat there. The room smelled awful, like old carpet mixed with fake lavender air freshener trying to cover up whatever the room actually smelled like. The TV was bolted to the wall, and the remote barely worked. 3 buttons. I pressed one, and some infomercial for a vacuum cleaner came on. I watched the entire 20 minutes without actually seeing any of it. A vacuum cleaner. That's what I watched on my 28th birthday. A vacuum cleaner infomercial in a motel that smelled like fake lavender. At some point, I checked my phone and saw the birthday text from earlier coworkers, a couple of old friends, and nothing from my family. Not one message. Not even a quick, "Hey," or "We changed the locks," or anything. Just silence from the 3 people who were supposed to matter the most. That night, I made a promise to myself. I was done relying on them. Done waiting for them to see me. Whatever came next, good or bad, I was handling it on my own. The next morning I went to work like nothing had happened, didn't tell anyone, just clocked in, moved boxes, scanned shipments, did my job. My boss, Rai, he's been running that warehouse for about 15 years. Barely smiles, says exactly what he means, and that's it. He noticed something was off within the first week. I was there constantly. Staying late, coming in early, picking up every shift no one else wanted. Overnights, I'll take them. Saturday doubles, sure. Holiday coverage, sign me up. I didn't care anything to keep my mind busy and the money coming in. One evening, after everyone else had left, Rai pulled me aside near the loading dock. He leaned against a stack of pallets and looked at me like he was trying to read a book with half the pages missing. You trying to set some kind of record, or are you sleeping here now? I didn't want to get into it, but the moment he asked, it all came out. I told him everything. The birthday, the lawn, the motel, all of it. Rai just listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't give me some big speech. When I finished, he rubbed the side of his face. He does that when he's thinking, then said, "I've got a buddy who rents out a room month to month. Nothing fancy, but it's clean. Want me to make a call?" 2 days later, I moved in. It was a small room in an older guy's house on the south side. The bed was a twin that squeaked every time you moved. The closet barely held half my clothes. The bathroom was down the hall with this loud exhaust fan that kicked on automatically when you hit the light switch. Scared me half to death the first time at 3 in the morning, but it was warm, it was quiet, and no one was going to show up and tell me to leave. I threw myself into work harder than I ever had before. Every shift, every overtime slot they posted it, and I signed up. I picked up side work too. Helped a friend's moving company on Saturdays, hauling furniture up and down stairs for 8 hours straight. Then I'd do delivery runs through an app at night, whenever I still had the energy. I barely spent anything. I'm talking rice and eggs most nights, and that was fine. I didn't need anything fancy. Didn't really need anything at all. I just needed the number in my bank account to keep going up. And I needed to stay busy. Because the second I had nothing to do, my mind would go straight back to that driveway. Mom's blank face. Tom and his stupid smirk. Dad standing there like a piece of furniture. No. Keep moving. Don't stop. There were nights, though. In that rented room, on that squeaky bed, staring at the crack in the ceiling that looked like a lightning bolt. 2 in the morning, just lying there, wondering if they'd call. If they'd wake up one day and realize what they did was wrong. If there'd be an apology or even just, I don't know, a text that said, "Hey, we went too far." Anything. But the phone never rang. Not once. Weeks passed, then months. Nothing. My buddy Mike, we've been close since college, went on to become a lawyer. He called me one night to catch up, and I ended up telling him everything. He was furious. Said he'd never heard of parents doing something like that to their own kid. Then he said something that stuck with me and never left. You know what would really get under their skin? You doing better than you ever did when you were living with them? I laughed, but the idea took hold and wouldn't let go. So that became the mission. Work harder, save more, build something they can't touch. Months went by. Head down, just grinding. Rye started giving me more responsibility, scheduling crews, managing inventory, training new hires. Then one afternoon, about 8 months after the birthday incident, he waved me into his office, a small room in the back that always smelled like old coffee and cardboard. He told me he was promoting me to operations lead. Real title change, real raise. I sat there trying to keep my expression steady because I could feel my eyes starting to burn, like, no, no, not here. It wasn't even really about the money. I mean, the money was great, but it was more about someone finally recognizing everything I'd been doing. All the late nights, all the unwanted shifts, all the times I showed up when everyone else called out, and someone actually said it mattered, that I mattered. First time in years anyone had said that to me. Actually, wait, I forgot something. About 3 months after I got kicked out, Tom called me. Out of nowhere. First time any of them had reached out since my birthday. And his voice was different. Quieter. None of that usual smug attitude. He told me Dad had lost his job. Mom was spending money like it grew on trees. He couldn't afford school. Basically, the whole house was falling apart financially, and he didn't know what to do. That was it. That was the reason for the call. Not, hey Robin, sorry we ruined your birthday and threw you out. Not, are you okay? Where are you even staying? He called because the money ran out and they needed someone to lean on. Simple as that. I sat there for a second processing it. And yeah, part of me, this stubborn part I wish would just shut up sometimes. Still felt bad for them. They're my family, right? That pull doesn't just disappear because people treat you badly. It stays there. You just get better at ignoring it. So let me get this straight. My voice came out sharper than I intended. You're calling me after months of silence because you need money. He tried to spin it. It's not just about money, Robin. We're all struggling. Dad's having a hard time. Mom's out of control with spending. Bills are piling up. My tuition's overdue. The whole story. Sounds like a you problem, Tom. There was a pause. Then he played the card. Come on, man. We're family, bro. Family doesn't throw your stuff on the lawn on your birthday. Family doesn't stand there and watch while you load your car by yourself. You made it pretty clear where I stand. Silence. And honestly, that silence said more than anything else could have. Don't call me again. I hung up, set the phone on the desk, and just stared at it. My hands were shaking, but underneath that was something I didn't expect. Relief. That was the first time I'd ever told any of them no, and meant it. The first time I didn't cave just because someone played the family card. Between the promotion and all the side work, I finally saved enough to get my own place. Took a couple more months of grinding after the raise, but I made it. A 2-bedroom apartment in a decent area. Clean building, quiet neighbors, a small balcony off the living room that overlooks a parking lot, but still, it's a balcony, and it's mine. I bought all my furniture over 3 weekends, driving around to secondhand stores, comparing prices on couches and tables. Found this one couch at a thrift store that looked awful but turned out to be the most comfortable thing I've ever sat on. Still have it. My kitchen where I can leave dishes overnight and nobody says a word. My fridge with my food that no one else touches. The first night in the new place, I ordered a pizza and ate the whole thing sitting on the floor because my dining table hadn't arrived yet. Pizza box in my lap. Watching some nature documentary about wolves on my phone, propped up against a shoe because I didn't have a TV stand either. The apartment still smelled like fresh paint. The bathroom echoed because it was empty. A dumb scene, sitting cross-legged on hardwood floors at 11 p.m., eating pizza and watching wolves hunt on a phone balanced against a shoe. But that was the happiest I'd been in as long as I could remember, because every single part of it was mine, and nobody, not Mom, not Dad, not Tom, could take any of it away from me. This is the part of the story where things are supposed to get better, and for a while, they do. He's working, saving, building something real for the first time in his life without anyone undermining him or calling him a burden for doing it. But here's the thing about families like this. They don't disappear when you start doing well. They come back because now you have something they want. I'd been in the apartment maybe a month. I was in the kitchen putting plates away. You know how when you move into a new place, everything stays in boxes for weeks and you keep using paper plates because you can't find the real ones? Yeah, I was finally getting around to that. The doorbell rang. I figured it was a package. I'd been ordering stuff all week. I pulled up the camera on my phone, and my whole body went cold. Mom, Dad, and Tom were standing at my front door. All three of them, like some kind of family portrait from an alternate reality where they still had the right to show up at my home. I stared at the screen for about 30 seconds. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. And I'm not going to lie. My first reaction wasn't anger. It was hope. This small, pathetic flicker of hope that maybe they were there to apologize. Maybe they finally understood what they'd done. Maybe this was the moment everything got fixed. I opened the door. Mom didn't even say hello. She walked right past me into the apartment like she lived there and started looking around the living room, the kitchen, down the hallway, running her hand along the counter like she was checking for dust. I had a pot of chili on the stove. I remember because the whole apartment smelled like it. She actually lifted the lid and looked inside. "Wow, Robin, you've really done well for yourself." She had this smile that wasn't really a smile. More like someone assessing a house they were about to lowball. Tom came in behind her looking uncomfortable for once in his life. Dad followed last, hands in his pockets. The exact same posture as the day they kicked me out. Literally the same stance. Some things don't change. "What are you doing here?" I kept my voice flat. Didn't want to give them anything. Mom turned around, that fake smile still in place. "We're here to talk about living arrangements." I blinked. "What?" Dad cleared his throat for the first time. "We think it's time for the family to be together again." I actually glanced around the room like I was expecting cameras. Like this had to be some kind of prank. "You're joking, right?" Mom's smile disappeared. Arms crossed. That cold expression I'd seen 1,000 times growing up. "No, Robin. We've talked it over, and we think it's time we all live together again as a family." I just stared at her. After everything, after throwing me out on my birthday without a word, after months of silence, after Tom calling for money and getting shut down, now they wanted to walk into the apartment I worked myself to afford and act like nothing had happened. Tom, of course, couldn't help himself. "Come on, Robin, don't be so dramatic. That's all in the past." All in the past. 8 months ago. Like it was ancient history. Like I hadn't spent my 28th birthday in a motel room watching a 20-minute vacuum cleaner infomercial with my life packed into boxes around me. Mom must have seen something change in my face, because she shifted tactics fast. "We gave you the push you needed," she said, that sharp edge back in her voice. "Look at this place. Look how well you've done. You should be thanking us." Thanking them. Because apparently throwing your kid out on his birthday counts as good parenting if he ends up okay later. "So what, you show up, take credit for my work and move in? This is my place. I paid for it." Dad tried playing peacemaker. "Robin, be reasonable. We're struggling. You have space. You're only here because you need something." Where was all this family talk when I was loading boxes into my car? When I was sleeping in a motel? Mom's face twisted. "We're your family, Robin. We sacrificed everything for you." "I mean, what did you sacrifice? Name one thing, Mom." She didn't answer. "You kicked me out. Didn't call for months. Threw me out like I was nothing. And now you think you're entitled to what I built?" She opened her mouth, but I kept going. I couldn't stop. I did this on my own. Every extra shift, every side job, every night I collapsed into bed because I was working myself half to death, trying to build a life you tried to take from me. "You don't get to walk in here and claim any of it." Tom rolled his eyes his default setting. "Stop being so selfish, Robin. We're just asking for a little help." Selfish. That word. I don't know, something about hearing that word come out of his mouth. After everything, something in my jaw just locked up. Selfish? You want to talk about selfish, Tom? You threw me out with nothing. No plan, no place to go. And now you show up at my door demanding space because you screwed up your own situation. That's selfish. Not me standing in my own apartment and saying no. Dad tried one more time. His voice was soft, almost pleading. "Robin, please. We're just asking for a chance." I took a long breath and looked at all three of them standing in the living room I paid for in the apartment I earned after the worst year of my life. The year they gave me. I walked to the front door and opened it wide. "Get out." Mom shot me a look full of pure hatred, like I was the one who'd done something wrong. Then she said it. "Fine, if you want to be difficult, we'll take legal action. We have rights, you know." Legal action for what? This apartment I paid for with my own money after you kicked me out? Go ahead and try. This is my home. You have no right to it. You're not moving in. Not now. Not ever. They left. Mom went first, storming out like I personally offended her by refusing to be used. Dad followed behind her. I could see it on his face. He wanted to say something, but he didn't. He never does. That's his thing. Tom just gave me this look, shaking his head like I was the unreasonable one, like I was crazy for not wanting the people who threw me out on my birthday to move into my apartment. Then he walked out. The door closed. I leaned against it and stayed there for a while. My heart was racing, my hands shaking. But underneath all that, there was something else, something hard to describe. I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying something heavy for years and I finally set it down. Or maybe threw it out the window. It was a strange feeling, but a good one. He stood there in his own home and told the same three people who dumped his belongings on the lawn to leave. Think about that for a second. 8 months earlier, he was the one being thrown out with nowhere to go. Now he's the one holding the door open, telling them it's time to leave. And the difference? He didn't throw their stuff outside first. He didn't do it on anyone's birthday. He just said, "Get out," and held the door. That's the difference between him and them. After that, things went quiet, and honestly, I was relieved. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Mom had thrown out that legal threat, and even though I didn't think she had any real ground to stand on, the words kept echoing in my head. We'll take legal action. Legal action for what? On what planet would a court give them rights to an apartment I bought with my own money after they kicked me out? Still, it lingered. I called Mike and told him everything. He'd been loosely following what was going on, but the moment I told him they showed up at my door and made threats, he got serious fast. We need to file a restraining order, he said. You've got enough to justify the threats, showing up uninvited, the whole pattern going back to your birthday. It's time to put something official between you and them. A restraining order. Against my own parents. Against my brother. 6 months ago, if someone told me I'd be filing a restraining order against my family, I would have laughed. But 6 months ago I also thought they'd never throw my stuff on the lawn and kick me out on my birthday. So what do I know? We filed it. Mike handled the paperwork, the court dates, everything. I just showed up when he told me to and answered questions when they asked. It took a few weeks, but it went through. Done. They can't come near me. Can't call, can't text, can't show up, can't send someone else to do it for them either. And if they try, real consequences. Not the empty threats Mom likes to throw around. Actual, legal consequences. I remember walking out of the courthouse and the air felt different, lighter. Sounds weird, but that's exactly how it felt. Then Mike told me something that made everything click. He'd been digging through public records, tax filings, court documents, whatever lawyers look at. And my parents were in deeper than I realized. They'd been dodging taxes for years. Not just forgetting to file, actively hiding money, falsifying documents. The IRS was already onto them. So all those years Mom made me feel like I was draining them dry. They were the ones creating the mess. They'd been digging that hole for years, and I was just the paycheck keeping them from hitting the bottom. Part of me wonders if that's the real reason they kicked me out. Not the "we need space" excuse. Not the "you need to grow up" speech. But because the tax situation was about to explode, and they didn't want me around when it did. I'll probably never know for sure, but it lines up a little too well to be a coincidence. After the restraining order went through, I started getting random messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. A distant cousin. A couple of my parents' church friends. Some woman who used to live on our street. I hadn't seen her since I was 12. All the same passive-aggressive tone. Heard you're not talking to your parents. Your poor mother is heartbroken. Family is everything, Robin. Turns out Mom and Dad were running a full campaign telling everyone I abandoned them. That I was ungrateful and selfish. The same people who threw me out now playing the victims. That part stung because some of those people actually believed it. I wanted to respond to every message, to tell the whole story, but Mike shut that down. Don't engage, Robin. They want a reaction. They want you to look unhinged so they can point and say, "See? You don't need to prove anything to people who weren't there." He was right. Still sucked, but he was right. Weeks passed, the restraining order held. And the IRS situation caught up with them exactly like Mike said it would. I heard through my cousin. She's the only family member I still talk to. And even that's maybe once a month that my parents are now dealing with serious tax issues. Oh, money they definitely don't have. Dad still hasn't found steady work. Tom dropped out of school. The house is apparently in worse shape than ever, which I didn't even think was possible, but here we are. I don't ask for updates anymore. And no one offers them. Their names just don't come up, which, honestly, is fine. Better than fine. I spent 27 years being part of that family, and the only thing it got me was a lawn full of my belongings and a birthday I'll remember for all the wrong reasons. Their mess is theirs now. I've got my own life to deal with. And things are good now. Actually good. Not the kind of good where someone asks how you're doing and you say it just to get through the conversation. Real, genuine good. The warehouse job is solid. Rye keeps giving me more responsibility, which means more hours and better pay. And I don't mind it. I like being the guy people come to when something needs figuring out. Makes the days move faster. I've been setting up a small office in the spare bedroom. Got a desk from a garage sale. A decent chair I splurged on because my back was starting to hurt from the cheap one, and one of those clip-on lamps. Sometimes I sit in there at night just because I can. Not even doing anything, just sitting in my own space, in my own apartment, knowing no one's going to walk in and tell me I don't belong. Mike still checks in every couple of weeks. Good guy. Last time we talked, he said, "You did the right thing, man. They made their choices. You made yours. That's the whole story." And I appreciate that. I appreciate someone not trying to make it more complicated than it is. I still think about them though. I won't pretend I don't. Usually late at night when the apartment gets quiet and my mind starts drifting to places I'd rather avoid. I wonder if they ever think about that day. If Mom ever sees it from my side, me standing in the driveway in my new shoes, staring at my stuff scattered across the lawn. 3 people on the porch who were supposed to love me just standing there like they were watching something play out. Probably not. But I still wonder. The anger doesn't linger the way I thought it would. That surprised me. I expected to be angry forever, like it would just become part of who I am. But it fades. Most days, it's not there at all. Then something random triggers it. I'll pass a house that looks like our old place, or hear that Coldplay song. The older one everyone knows, but I can never remember the name of, and suddenly the whole scene plays in my head for a few seconds. My stomach drops, everything rushes back, and then, it passes. And I'm just back in my kitchen making eggs at midnight, or sitting on my beat-up thrift store couch watching something pointless, no one calling me a burden. No one telling me I need a real job. I'm okay. For the first time in a long time, I think I'm genuinely okay. Not fixed. Not completely past it. Some days are still harder than others. But I'm okay. And honestly, that's enough. He spent years being the one holding everything together and got nothing but criticism for it. The son who paid the bills but was told he didn't have a real job, the one who bought the groceries but was called a burden. They threw him out on his birthday with no plan and no apology, and then had the nerve to show up 8 months later expecting a place in the life he built without them. And when he said no, when he finally stood his ground and told them to leave, they threatened him, tried to turn people against him, tried to take what he had built. But he didn't fold, didn't beg, got a restraining order, protected what was his, and kept moving forward. Sometimes the person everyone underestimates is the one who ends up standing the longest. That's it for today, everybody. If this one got under your skin, and I'm guessing it did, drop a comment and let me know what you think. Were the parents out of line from the beginning? Or was there ever a point where he should have helped them? Was the restraining order too much, or exactly what was needed? I want to hear it all. And if you're not subscribed yet, come on, you already know. We do this every week. This is Finn, Family Reddit Tales. Catch you in the next one.